Right now, some potentially damaging testimony in a hearing for two men accused of a crime, grabbing the nation's attention more than a year ago. The senseless beating of a fan outside Dodger Stadium on Major League Baseball's opening day, leaving Bryan Stowe, the man on your screen there, a father of two, with permanent brain damage. Now, the sister of one man accused in the crime, who's also the girlfriend of the other man charged, says one of the suspects had a bloody hand as he ran back to their car. That's one of the important testimonies that we've heard of these last couple days of preliminary hearings. Our legal panel, defense attorney Chip Merlin's with us, and Donald Schweitzer, a former prosecutor and police officer. So, Donald, this is the fifth day of preliminary hearings. Is that typical? Does it seem like they have enough to go to an actual trial?
Well, there should not be a trial if the defense has its way, Jenna. There's a mountain of evidence against these defendants, and these attorneys should be begging and pleading with the prosecution to not take it to trial. They need to get a deal. This evidence that you've just seen with this suspect's sister, Doreen Sanchez, goes a little bit further than just saying that she saw them get in the car. She heard her brother turn around and say to his son, "Don't tell Mom about this." This is very, very damaging to the defendants, and they're looking at the maximum sentence under California law because of the nature of the injuries in this case.
And what would
I
the
don't think that it's going to go to
be,
trial.
By the way, Donald, the charges right now, mayhem and assault charges. So if this does go to trial, what potentially are the men on the screen looking at?
The upper sentence for mayhem is 8 years in California. And don't forget that these are strikes. And I don't know anything about their backgrounds, but if they have any prior criminal convictions, it could be even worse than that.
Chip, what do you think about this? What do you think what Donald has to say, that really the defense right now needs to start working on a deal?
Well, I don't know about this. This is a preliminary hearing, and what we're actually finding out is that there are a lot of people that were wearing Dodger shirts that night, that they resembled these particular suspects, that the primary identification of a witness was a person who actually identified another suspect a year before that and then was never able to identify one of the suspects here. So her credibility is at issue.
That's not true. Don't forget that Norwood in the police interview was caught calling his mother and saying that he was involved in the incident and that he knew he was going down. Not only that, but he comes into the car with blood on his hands. You've got a whole bunch of witnesses that have identified these two guys acting like thugs, looking for a fight from the very beginning of the game. So identity will not be the defense. So don't go there. If there's a defense, it's going to be whether or not they committed the crime, because there could have been a crowd around them. But I don't even think that's going to stand.
And Chip,
let
me ask you about that part. The eyewitness that we're talking about, Mary Dolores Donnelly, she was at the opening game. She heard what she describes as people exchanging words and a scuffle ensuing, and she went towards what was happening, and she said that she heard Bryan Stowe's head hit the concrete. I mean, but the scene that she's describing is a little bit different than maybe has been portrayed in the press of Bryan Stowe and his friend being jumped and not really engaging with the said accused men. Does that change things at all? Because she says that she heard these guys exchanging words and a scuffle happening, and then eventually these terrible injuries, of course.
Well, as a matter of fact, it changes everything. The question to me, though, is, does it matter on identification? It absolutely does. She says she never saw them originally hit him and causing him to go down. It was only after they down. She said that she could only identify from a police lineup a year later after a wrong identification, Sanchez, and she could never identify Norwood in a police lineup. Again, what the prosecution has to prove is somebody actually did this crime to this individual, and not people just resembling these other individuals. There were hundreds of people that look like these two suspects that were out there. And so the question is right now, can we rely upon one person? The number one reason why innocent people in the United States are convicted is because of witness identification. And we know that from DNA technology now. And once a witness says somebody did it, they just don't back down. So that's
with your analysis.
All right, Donald, quick final thoughts.
So that's the problem. problem in this case for the prosecution.
Aiding and abetting, accessories after the fact. You've got all ways of getting these guys convicted. They don't even have to be the ones that actually kicked and punched this gentleman, although we think that they did, and the evidence shows that they did, but they clearly were aiding and abetting. So it's a slam dunk case for the prosecution.
Well, we'll see where it goes from here. Again, the 5th day of preliminary hearings, and it's certainly a man whose life is forever changed because of what happened at the park that day. Gentlemen, nice to have you as always. Thank you so much.
Thanks,
Thank
Jenna.
you.